Hello everyone and welcome to QQEvolution. In today's training we are going to cover how to set up default commission structures for your agency and producers, how additional commission rules can also be set up and applied to policies when commission amounts may vary from those company defaults, how we can edit commission amounts directly on a policy, applying only to that policy, how to set up a producer and track their commissions on policies, and also how to view commissions that have been paid or are outstanding from the billing tab on the customer. We are currently viewing the dashboard for QQEvolution, which every user will see when they first log into the system. The setup process for our default commission rules is going to take place in the utilities. So let's go over to our utilities section on the left-hand side here, and we'll click in utilities to begin. So here we are in the utilities section where most of the system setup will take place. If we work from the top of the list of radial buttons here on the left-hand side, we can see the very first button for users is going to show us a list of all of the users that currently have a login in the system and their current permission level. The second list down is for our agent, CSRs, and producers. So just because you have somebody entered as a user in the system where they can log in with their own login credentials, it does not necessarily mean that you would be able to select them as agent, CSR, or producer on customers or policies unless you add them as well to this second list, agent, CSR, and producer. Here we can see a list of our current agent, CSRs, and producers in the system. I can click up in the top toolbar if I wish to either add, edit, or delete a name from the list. You also have access to the commissions from the toolbar, which I can also open when I double click on any name on the list. Let's go ahead and add a new name to the list here. I can type in my new entry down here. We'll call them Jim Tester. And we'll say add to list. I can also specify which agency office he's going to be assigned to. So if I have more than one office location for my agency, I can specify that in the filter drop down here. I'm going to leave him assigned to all agency locations, even though I only have one. I'll say add to list. We should now see Jim on our list here. I can continue to add names to the list, or I can say done adding. If I wished, I can still edit the name on the list. I can edit the filter, or I can edit the actual name of our agent, CSR, or producer here. When I want to go ahead and set up the commission structure for this agent, CSR, or producer, I can either select commissions from the toolbar at the top and show them in a chart, or I can double click on any name in the list to bring up that same chart of all the commission roles for our producers. So again, in this list we can see all of our producers here on the left-hand side. Notice that some of our producers have multiple entries. This is because you can set up multiple commission rules depending on if the company, the line of business, the specific coverage, or business type is going to matter in how much their commission is going to be calculated at. If we want to add a new item to the list, duplicate an existing rule, edit an existing rule, or delete a commission rule from the list, you have those options up in the toolbar at the top here. Let's go ahead and add a new rule for the new producer that we had just added to the system. We can see the producer box is the very first one we could select from here, and we'll select Jim Tester, who is our new producer. Now if I need to specify agency office location for this commission rule, I can do so. So the rule might only apply to customers and policies that are entered into that office location. If we need to specify an MGA or broker that we're going through. So if this commission rule is only going to apply to when we have the policy written through a better broker, maybe we get a slightly higher or slightly lower commission percentage than what we might get if we were going through the writing carrier directly. If I need to specify an MGA or broker, I can do so. If we're not going to be specific in any of these areas, we can leave them at all, so the commission rule can pretty much apply to any policy entered in the system. So again, I can narrow down based on the writing carrier, the actual insurance company, the line of business for the policy, the coverage type, or the business type, whether it's new business, renewal, or rewrite. So maybe we want to set this one up for new business policies. We'll have Jim set up at a specific commission percentage. It's going to be the same percentage regardless of the company, the MGA, or the line of business. But the policy, this commission percentage will only apply if the policy is a new business policy. Now down below we can select the commission type. I can either set the commission to be calculated based on what the agency is making for commission on this policy. I can have our producer's commission calculated on what the actual premium and fees are of the policy. Or I can have the commission calculated against whatever agency fees we might be charging. By default, we would have this set on the agency commission, so I can say that I'm either getting a flat dollar amount, which in essence would be regardless of what the agency is actually making. If we're just going to say that Jim is going to be getting $100 commission, flat amount on any new business policies, we could set that up. We could also set this up by percentage. So maybe Jim is set to make 20% on any new business that he brings into the agency. Now, with this commission rule, based on the agency's portion of the commission, if I also need to create an agency fee commission entry as part of this rule, I can check this box here. And I can say that for the agency fees, again, we can either set a flat dollar amount or a percentage amount. So maybe Jim gets a set 2% on whatever agency fees we also charge on the policy. I can click OK to save the new rule. So looking back at our list, we should now see the rules that we had created for Jim Tester. We can see that this rule is applying to all of our office locations, no particular MGA, any company, any line of business, any coverage. It's for new business policies only. For the agency commission is what this commission amount is being calculated against. So Jim is set to make 20% of the agency commission, and any agency fees he's set to make 2% of those. Again, only in regards to new business, since we set those up at the same time. If we wanted to create another commission rule, we can either click Add or we could duplicate an existing one. If I select Duplicate, it will bring up the same screen but with the information already filled out, and I can make any necessary changes here. So maybe this one I only want to set up for renewals, and I can say he makes 10% on renewals, and we won't create any extra entry on the agency fee for this one. And now we have our third commission rule here. Same criteria, the only difference is this one is only replying to renewals, and we've changed the commission amount to be calculated at 10%. So the new business he'll get 20% on, and when that renews he will get a 10% commission. We can also create one for rewrites. I'll go ahead and duplicate again. We'll change renewal to rewrite, and let's put our amount back at 20% for this one. And that would be the process of setting up commission rules for your producers. When you're setting up these commission rules for your agency or for your producer, one thing to keep in mind is your most specific commission rules are going to apply first, and then if the system cannot find a specific commission rule, it will fall back on one of the more general commission rules that you have. So for example, we have a commission rule here for Audrey D. A Better Broker is the MGA specified, and the company is Better Insurance Co. So whenever she writes a policy with this MGA, with this company, this commission rule is going to pick up before her other commission rules that are set to all, because this one is more specific to what she has actually selected on the policy. Let's go back to our utilities. The next radial button here on the list that I want to draw your attention to in regards to commission setup is going to be the one in the center here for your insurance companies. When we click on this button, we can see on the right hand side here a list of all of the different insurance companies, the different writing carriers that you have entered into your system. Again, up at the top, I have the ability to add, edit, or delete any items from the list. You also have this reset list option here, which would allow me to reset the entire list back to its system default, basically erasing all the entries on the list if I wanted to do so. And again, we can access the commissions for your insurance companies. We can still view the commissions in a chart showing us all of the commission rules across all of the different companies. I can filter down this chart to show only specific rules based on the line, the coverage, or the company associated. We can also check the boxes here for the period to show only the rules for those specific time periods, for those specific policy terms. So I'm only showing commission rules that apply to 12-month terms or to 6-month policy terms, for example. If I need to get an idea of what the different column headings mean, we can click on the Details button here on the top left. This will give you a quick pop-up telling you what these different abbreviations stand for here. Now I can select any of the insurance companies here and I can click Edit, or just double-click on the company itself to bring up the specific commission rules that we can set up for this company. I can also access this screen when we're back in the utilities, looking at the insurance company's list. If I were to select, instead of in a chart, under the commissions drop-down, if I select for this company, or if I just double-click on the company in the list, it'll bring up the commission specific to that one company. So when you want to view the commission rules that you have set up, it's easier to view them all as a whole in a chart. But if you're trying to actually set up or edit specific commission rules, you might want to do it per company because this is a little less confusing at this point. So I can double click on the company that I want to set up the rules for, and we can begin that process. So this is our commissions window that pops up for us here. And just to give you a quick overview of what we're looking at here, we can see the agency filter that's currently set on the company that we had opened up. All About Insurance Co. is the name of the company that we had double-clicked on in the list here in the utilities to open up this commissions window. The code here on the right, the 3-digit code, is for our outside rating software. If you use something like our QQ Web Rater, this would be pertinent. The broker ID we can enter in here, as well as the NAIC code. The NAIC code is going to be necessary if you are participating in carrier downloads. The way the system will try to find a matching carrier will be based entirely on NAIC code. So you'll need to make sure you have this insurance company's unique 5-digit NAIC code entered here for carrier downloads to process correctly. If you're not doing carrier downloads with this company, this is not necessary to have. Same with the download commissions checkbox here on the right. If I am doing carrier downloads and that carrier is sending as part of the download my direct bill commission statement showing what commissions I've earned with that carrier, if you're going to be processing that direct bill commission statement as part of the carrier download to try and reconcile it automatically, you can check this box here that we are downloading commissions for this carrier. We do have a separate recording that covers the topics of carrier downloads and how to set those up and process those in detail, so we'll just be briefly touching on this option here today. In the middle, we can see the lines of business that we currently have entered into the system. I can add additional lines of business in the utilities. There's a radial button here for line of business. We can also see the coverages that we have added into the system as well. And if I need to edit that list also, we have the coverages list in your utilities here also. Now in the center of this box below, we can see our premium sent options, which will be very important in determining how the system will track when your commission is reconciled. The net option indicates that we keep our commission up front from the down payment the customer makes, and we forward the remainder of that premium onto the carrier. So essentially our commission is reconciled automatically as being received as soon as that down payment is collected. The option for gross indicates that the full premium amount, including what will be owed for commissions, is sent to the carrier, and we will receive our commissions in one payment at a later time. This will need to be reconciled when it is received. The monthly option is just like the gross option above in the sense that the full premium will be sent to the carrier and we will receive our commission at a later time in monthly installments. These installment amounts will also need to be reconciled as they are received. Now, if you're processing those reconciliation statements through carrier direct bill commission downloads, you will want to make sure that the download commissions box here up on the top right is checked off for this carrier. You might then want to check the carrier download import settings from your dashboard to see if you have direct bill commission downloads set to reconcile automatically if they can match the carrier, customer, and policy information. If these are not set to reconcile automatically, you can still reconcile them manually, and the statement can be accessed and printed via the carrier download. Again, all the information concerning carrier downloads we do cover in more detail in a separate recording, so you can always refer back to that if you need some further information. So let's say that we want to set up some new commission rules for our agency for this company here, All About Insurance Co. How does our agency calculate its commission when writing policies through this carrier here? I can see by default the line of business selected is auto. If I change my line of business here, you'll notice that the premium sent, the commission amounts, and the coverages selected change as well. So as I jump back to auto, we can see monthly is our premium sent and our commissions calculated at 10% for new business and renewals across all of the policy terms, annual, 6-month, 3-month, or monthly. Let's say we want to set up a new commission rule for a commercial auto policy. I'm going to select commercial auto as the line of business, and you'll notice that my commission information will reset down at the bottom if I have not set up a rule yet for that specific line. So we've selected commercial auto. We can see premium sent is at net and our commissions amounts are at 0%. Now if I need to set up the commission rule for a specific coverage, so maybe we want to set up commercial auto, comp, and collision as our specific coverage, I can set the premium sent option, let's say it's monthly, and we can set our commission amounts, let's say 15% on the annual policy term for new business. Now if I hit tab, that 15% will carry over and pretty much fill in all of my boxes here. So if it's the same commission amount, I can enter it once and hit tab. If I need to edit these amounts, I can do so. So maybe this is 12%, 10%, and 8%. And if my renewal commission is going to be any different, we can set up those different amounts here as well. Next would be policy fees. When there's a new policy entered into the system, is there a standard policy fee with this carrier? If so, I can enter that flat dollar amount here, and again I can hit tab, and those amounts will carry over. So maybe my policy fee is not going to vary based on the policy term or based on the new or renewal business. So I'll just leave this at $25 across the board. If the policy fee is going to be fully earned on cancel, we can check the box at the bottom here. And we'll get into a discussion on the tiers for our commission setup in just a moment. So I now have a commission rule set up for commercial auto, comp, and collision as the specific coverage for the company All About Insurance Co. You'll notice if I change my coverage, all of my rules reset. If I go back to that comp and collision coverage, I can see the rules that I had put in place. So when I select a specific coverage, this rule here is only applying to that line of business and that specific coverage. By default, when I select a new line of business, my coverage will default to all. That way, if I don't need to specify the coverage amount, the commission rule is going to be the same based on the line of business and not on the coverage. Then I can just leave this at all, and regardless of what coverage I select, the commission rule would apply. So let's say we had commercial auto, and we had that comp and collision. Let's go ahead and set up the same rule on the all amount. Or I'll just go ahead and set this up at 15% across the board, $25 on our policy fee across the board. If I go back to our comp and collision coverage, we'll still see that default amount that's filled in here. So I can have a specific value for this one coverage if it's going to vary, but if all the others are going to follow the all rule that I have here, then I could just set this rule up on all and then only edit that one other coverage for comp and collision. You'll notice when I go to another coverage that I haven't set up yet, that we'll get a message here saying this commission setting will use the configuration defined for all coverages. So it automatically pulled in the values that I had set up when I had my coverage selected at all. But again, if I need to set up a more specific amount for the specific coverage here, we can do so. Just like changing the coverage will change the amounts we have set up, changing the line of business will change the amounts. So if I select homeowners, we'll see everything reset to 0 again because I have not yet set up a rule for homeowners. So I can set up all of the rules, all the different commission percentages for this carrier across the different lines of business. Once we have set up a commission rule for each line of business that we write with this carrier, we can move on to the next writing carrier and set their commission rules up as well. Another thing to point out on this screen is the company fee configuration. Down at the bottom here, we can indicate a standard policy fee amount that would be charged on new business and on renewal. In this example, let's go ahead and say we have a $25 policy fee, regardless of what the policy term is, for new business and renewal. Now, if that $25 fee needs to be further configured or there's some additional fees or percentages that need to be applied, we can click on the Company Fee Config button at the bottom here. So we're configuring the default amount for this writing carrier's company fees. We have a base premium example just so we can see the amount of the fees and how the total premium issued is going to be calculated. If I need to add additional fees into this section here, I can click to add fee, and I can select a fee from the list that drops down here. Now this list of fees is also customizable, so if we need to add, edit, or remove any fees from this list or customize their default amounts, let me close out of here really quick. When we're on the radial button for insurance companies, you have a button in the toolbar up here for fees. This is that same list of fees that we just saw drop down. So we can set up their default amounts, dollar amounts, or percentage amounts, and indicate if they're commissionable or not. So I can take this custom fee here. Let's just edit this one. I could give it a new name if I wanted to call it new fee. I can indicate that the amount is either a percentage or a flat dollar amount. Let's keep it as a percentage, and I will check the commissionable box if I want to indicate that this fee is commissionable for our agency. So let's go back into our insurance company commission configuration here. We'll go back to that standard company fee that we had on the homeowners policies, which was $25, and we'll click the company fee config button. So again, I'm going to add a fee. And I should see the new fee that I had added previously. Here it is. Should be at 15%, and it was checked off as commissionable. I can still edit these options from here if I need to. Those are just the defaults that I had set up in case I need to quickly apply this kind of fee to other lines of business as well without having to set up the same information over and over again. So we have a new fee, and I can continue to add additional fees if I need to. Once we have multiple fees selected here, we can also control the hierarchy of how these fees are calculated. That's what these arrow buttons are for at the bottom here. So as my fees exist currently, we can see that the base premium that we're using the example for, $100, we have the Louisiana state tax at 5%, then the new fee at 15%, and then the policy fee at $25. So this 5% is applying to this $100, as is the 15% applying to this $100. Now if I needed the 5% to apply to the $100, but I needed the 15% to apply to after that 5% has been calculated on that $100. So if I needed my 15% to apply to $105, so to speak, I can use these arrow keys to create that hierarchy of calculation. So I would select the fee or the tax amount, and I can click on the up arrow to group it into its own subcategory total. So we can now see that the 5% applies to this $100. We have a total value of $105, and now our 15% is applying to this $105 instead of to this $100. I could further reorganize these if I move my policy fee, the flat $25, up into the group 1 subtotal. I would now have my 5% applied on the 100, the $25 on top of that, and then my 15% applies to the $130 total that is garnished from the 2. So you can play around with these hierarchies, these fee values here. I can add and edit fees, and I can organize which ones are going to apply to the entire premium or which ones need to apply to a subtotal of fees that came previous. Now that we have our company fees configured, we have our commission amounts set up per each line of business with this carrier, let's take a look at the last option down here for commission tiers. If the amount of my agency's commission is going to be higher or lower based on the amount of the policy premium, we can set up this structure using the tiers option in the bottom left of the box here. I can click to add a tier, and we would be entering the tier's maximum premium amount. So let's say $1,000. So now I have 2 tiers set up for the commission roll for this insurance company here. Basically, when the premium is between $0 and $1,000, we can set up one commission percentage here. Maybe I'll have this at 5%. When the premium goes above $1,000, we have a completely different commission percentage that we can set up. So maybe I can say 8%. So now whenever we enter a policy with All About Insurance Co., if that policy premium is anywhere between $0 and $1,000, we're going to be making 5% commission for the agency. If the policy premium is above $1,000, then for the first $1,000 we would be making a 5% amount of commission, and any amount above that $1,000 we would be making an 8% commission calculated separately on that other amount. You can have additional tiers here. I can continue to click Add at the bottom left, and I can set up a new maximum premium value for the next tier up. So we could say this next one is 5,000, and maybe we want to do another tier at 10,000. So again, at our $0 to $1,000 on the premium, we would be looking at 5% commission calculated there. For $1,000 to $5,000 on the premium, again, we would be looking at that 8% that we had set up. For the $5,000 to $10,000 premium, we can have this set at 10%. And for anything above $10,000 on the premium, we can set this at 15%. So in this example here, if I have a policy where the premium is $1,400, on the first $1,000 we would be getting 5% calculated, and then for $400, anything that was above that $1,000, we would be getting 8% calculated on the remaining amount for our total agency's commission value. Once we've completed setting up all of the commission rules for each of the lines of business that we write with this carrier, we can click OK to save our changes, and we can continue down the list of our companies until we have all of our commission rules set up for each company. There's one other area of commission setup that we can take a look at here in the utilities section, and that is whenever your policy is going through an MGA or broker. We have a list of your MGAs and brokers down here at the bottom, this last radial button here. Just like before, I can add or edit or delete items from this list, so I can add new MGAs or brokers to the list. On the right-hand side, we can also see the companies that are currently associated to those MGAs or brokers. So for A Better Broker, our MGA, we have 5 companies here that are associated with this MGA. I will need to make sure that my companies are associated to the correct MGAs so I can see those choices when I'm setting up policies in the system. If I need to configure this at all, you do have the option in the toolbar at the top here. We can click, and I can select which MGA I'm working with, big MGA company, and we have the company list down here at the bottom. So I can select which carriers need to be added to this association with this MGA, and I can add as many as I need here. Now, once you are finished associating the companies to the specific MGA, we can close this window here, and we can proceed to set up commission rules for these companies when we are writing policies through the MGA or broker. Just like before, I can click on the commissions from the toolbar, or I can just double click on the company to open up the same window that we were looking at previously, except this time I'm setting up the commissions for this company here for whenever they are going through the MGA that they had been assigned to. So now we've gone through the process of setting up commission structures for our producers, for our agency, and for when we're going through any MGAs or brokers. There is one last area in the utilities section here where we can create additional commission rules that may or may not apply to a specific company. We would go to the agency radial button, and these commission rules here that we can set up may not always be applicable. So these may be rules that you might want to apply on a per policy basis. I can double click on the agency name, or we can go to the commissions and click in a chart, and we would see all of the commission rules that are set up that can be selected by this specific agency here. Now if I want to edit or duplicate or delete any of the existing rules here, we can do so. We can see the criteria of this rule, when it's going to apply to a particular agency location, MGA or broker, company, line of business, coverage, or business type. If I click New Rule at the bottom here, and let's say we're setting up a rule for a bonus amount of commission that our agency might make whenever we write a policy through a particular MGA. So I can call the rule something like agency commission bonus. We can specify the MGA or broker. So maybe this rule only applies to A Better Broker, any company with that broker, any line of business, doesn't matter. And we can do a percentage or a flat dollar rate. I'm going to set this one up at a flat dollar amount of $50. So we have a new rule added to our list here. I will only see this rule as available when I'm on a policy and the policy is through A Better Broker as the MGA. So if we go to a policy next, So here I am on a homeowner's policy, and if you notice, the MGA is a better broker, our company here. We can see the default amount of commissions from the commission structure that we had set up in the utilities section for this MGA and company, a 10% commission amount on our commissionable premium here. Now if I want to apply that additional rule, I can come down to the bottom here and click Add, and we'll see the list of rules that are applicable based on the criteria, the line of business, the coverage. We can see the rule that we had just created here, agency commission bonus, our MGA a better broker, and the amount at a flat $50. And I can click to apply the rule. So we can see that we have the 10% commission on the amount of commissionable premium, and then we have an extra $50 in commission that we would be collecting as well, for a total of $470. If I needed to apply additional rules, I could do so. I could delete existing rules, or I could even reset the commission back to the default amount from the utilities section. So when you're on a policy, your commission information is going to be in the tab here for commission breakdown whenever you need to take a look at or adjust the commission amounts or play with any of the rules or the tier options. If we had set up the rule based on premium tiers, I could select that option here as well. One other area to look at in regards to commission on the policy is for our producer's commission, and we have a tab just to the right here for producers. So I can see the producers that I currently have on this policy. I can see what commission amount that they are set to make, the total commission due, what's due to date so far, what's been paid to date, and what is still due at this time. If I need to, I can always edit the producers on the list. I can delete producers from the list, or I can add additional producers. You also have the quick add options here on the left to add the agent on the customer as producer, or add the CSR on the policy as producer. Your CSR would be listed here, and your agent would be listed right here on the customer or the client tab. So back on the policy, let's take a look at the producers. And if we wanted to add a producer that's not an agent or CSR on this client or policy, we can click the Add Producer button. We can then select the producer from our list of agent CSRs and producers in the utilities. And we can indicate if their commission is being calculated on what the agency made for commission or what the premium and fees are of this policy. And we can set up their percentage amount here. Now when commissions have been paid to your producers, we can see the history here. If we need to see the history of our commission payments to our agency here to see what's been received and reconciled, we can take a quick look at the company billing tab along the top. So the system will automatically create commission due entries when we first set up the policy and the commission structure, and as we reconcile these commissions as being received, we'll have entries created on the credit side so we can have a running balance of any commission that's left to be collected. We will cover the process of reconciling commissions received for your agency and commissions paid to your producers in our next recording.